Before coming to Roosevelt Island, I heard different paranormal stories about the neighborhood, that the dark past had left a lasting impression on the island, and the thousands of people who died from a vicious disease still roamed around as ghosts. Supposedly, there were so many deaths in the hospital that bodies were heaped into a giant pile, burned, and the remains were thrown into the East River. Visitors and residents shared strange, unexplained experiences from the hospital. Claims were spread around like human-like noises, light anomalies, and dark shadowy figures were found at the site. Typical ghost story stuff. But as I walked around on Halloween weekend, I was reminded of this one story. There once was a boy named Oliver Whitaker. He lived with his two loving parents and older sister on the mainland. They all lived a happy life in the city. But on the eve of his 8th birthday, Oliver became sick, and the doctors recognized that he had contracted smallpox. Cases had been rising throughout the city, so Oliver had to move to Blackwell's Island, where all smallpox patients were treated, all by himself. Scared and alone, Oliver stayed in the small hospital on the island, unable to see his family. He spent most of his days stuck in bed, longing for the days when he played with his friends in empty alleyways, or when his sister would take him to get ice cream after school, or when his mother would tuck him into bed. On Halloween night, Oliver went to bed, dreaming of the life he had at home. When he woke up the next morning, he didn't wake up in his body. Instead, he looked in terror as his body was being thrown into a pile, burned, and tossed into the river. From then on, Oliver's ghost roamed around, forever a silent witness of the countless lives lost on the island. As he looked over the hospital, he always noticed the children who were admitted, hopelessly watching as their childhoods were robbed from them. Years after his death, the hospital was abandoned and the other island facilities were torn down, leaving the island empty for nearly a century. Every day, Oliver wandered the ruins of the hospital and looked out to the mainland across the river. Scared and confused, Oliver always wondered what happened to his family and why this disease had taken him away from them. But eventually, Oliver watched the island transform. The gloomy old buildings and facilities were replaced with cozy apartments and beautiful parks. A new life emerged as people and their families moved to the island, making it their home. Even though it was the day of his death, Oliver grew to love Halloween. He loved the fun of it all, kids spinning in their costumes, playing carnival games, or eating candy and treats. He'd always see groups of friends playing or siblings wearing matching costumes. Reminded of his friends and sister, Oliver imagined the life he could have had if things had turned out differently for him. Still, for once, Oliver felt like the child he always wanted to be, even if he had to watch from the outside. This place, once full of pain and suffering, was now a peaceful, happy island where children could experience the childhood they deserved to live. Oliver was content with that.